2018. He left the next morning. Devin would find out from Beth, who had heard it from Kira, that he had caught the first flight back home as soon as he could. He would fly into JFK and then catch the train down to Baltimore. He needed to get there immediately. "I can't believe this," Beth said for the fourth time that morning. She and Devin had gotten into a routine of Wednesday morning croissants and cappuccinos before their class. Devin brushed some of her own croissant crumbs off of her shirt and shook her head in disbelief for more than the fourth time that day. She had found herself doing it unknowingly, brushing her teeth, shaking her head, putting on clothes for the day, and sighing loudly. It was as if her body didn't know what to do with someone else's grief. She had known people who had died before. Her grandparents had passed away on both sides when she was younger. She had attended funerals and held others' hands as they grieved. But Christian was different. With Christian, she had been a witness to the exact moment death struck without warning. It was senseless and heartbreaking and scary all at once. When she had left his apartment late last night, the first thing that she did was call home. She needed to hear her parents' voice. The predictability that they would be watching their favorite BBC drama in the den gave her a comfort she didn't know she ached for until then. "It's awful." Devin brought her attention back to Beth. "He has to be so scared." She imagined Christian sitting on the plane, 8 hours trapped with his thoughts. If it were her, she would will herself to sleep to avoid the drama and hurt of it all. She would drink cheap alcohol from the bar cart and wait until it worked. And then she would curl up in a ball and force herself to close her eyes and not think about it. But she knew Christian. Despite the fact that they rarely talked, she had gotten so used to his presence that she could pretty much predict what he would do. He would be pragmatic about it. He would board the plane, put his stuff in the overhead compartment. He would take a seat, fold the tray table down, and leave his cell phone, his headphones, and a portable charger there. He would take the book he had brought with him and wedge it into the side of the seat, and then he would aimlessly scroll through the movies, picking one with Will Ferrell or something. Once the plane had taken off, then and only then would he give himself one moment to acknowledge that he was flying home to see his family. One member less, of course. And he would push that grief back down until the moment he got off the train in Baltimore and hugged his mom. Only then would he weep, not just for himself, but for her, the woman who had just unexpectedly lost the love of her life. "I don't know what I would do if that happened to me. Do you think he'll come back? I mean, with everything going on, it's unlikely, no?" Beth looked back at Devin expectantly, as if she were the genie who knew all the answers. She had no idea what would happen next. This was never the plan. They were all supposed to exist in London for 3 more months of reverie and joy and abandon. No one thought to think of a contingency, what if? It felt morbid to think, what if someone dies? And yet here they were. "I don't know. I guess that's a decision he has to make with his family. I don't know how this works, to be honest." Beth would get her answer a week later. The girls had gone to the pub to meet Kira and Joe for dinner. Devin was shocked to see Christian sitting there nonchalantly. She had kind of expected him to text her and let her know his plans. She tried it herself. He owed her nothing. He had much more important things to worry about than letting a practical stranger know when he would be returning to London, or even if he would. "Oh my God, Christian, I'm so sorry to hear about your dad. We missed you." Beth immediately enveloped him in a hug. Devin was grateful to follow her lead. She was uncomfortable around him now. It wasn't his fault. It was her own hyper-awareness of feeling connected to him and distant all at once. In the hours after it had happened, she felt more deeply connected to him than anyone in her life ever before. She supposed it had to do with the general shock and trauma of it all. But even still, something ran deeper. It felt like she and Christian had been tied together with a string, an invisible thread that wove between their lives from that critical moment. Devin watched as Christian stood up to enter Beth's open embrace. She hadn't really given him a chance. Beth's Midwestern grace and friendliness were overpowering. She would hug Christian whether or not he wanted to be. Devin supposed he was used to it by now, used to strangers offering unsolicited condolences and forced hugs or pats on the back. She watched as he robotically hugged her back, his body not quite embracing her. It seemed, if anything, like he was tolerating her embrace. Beth released him after a beat too long and looked him in the eyes. "We're here for you, you know. We're your family abroad. Whatever you need, don't hesitate." That seemed like a stretch. Did Christian really want a bunch of college students to be his surrogate family? Surely they could be capable of replacing his actual family. Surely they couldn't be capable of replacing his actual family. The people back in the States also growing through this together. "Thanks, Beth. I appreciate it." He gently pushed her away and locked eyes with Devin. She could have easily hugged him, but she panicked. "Hey, it's really good to see you." She put an awkward hand on his arm. Jesus, could she be any weirder? She should have followed Beth's lead and given him a hug, but somehow that felt too intimate. He looked down at his arm and back up at Devin, wincing slightly. Thanks. It's good to see you too. All right, people, let's focus. Joe had called their attention back to the table. Paris is still on. Now that Christian's back, the plans remain the same. We're going to leave next Friday and catch the bus at 5 a.m. I am not hauling your asses out of bed, so set your alarms. If you miss the bus, we'll see you when we get back. There was a collective groan from the table. 5 a.m. had seemed like a great idea when they were booking tickets. They'd arrive in Paris by early morning, have a full day, but at present, 5 a.m. seemed absolutely daunting and unimaginable. I've gone ahead and paired everyone off. Devin caught Christian chuckle under his breath as Kira piped up. Of course, she had thought ahead. I've read that the seats on the bus are super small, so I think it's best that Joe and Christian, you guys don't sit directly next to each other. Devin couldn't quite figure out where Kira was going with this. It had become apparent she had a thing for Joe, but this seemed excessive, even by Devin's standards. She had read enough teen romance novels to know that this was a manipulative stretch. So, Joe, you'll sit with me. Beth, I've put you with Andy, and Devin, it'll be you and Christian. She looked pointedly at Devin as if willing her to put up a fight. Devin didn't have the energy. If Kira wanted to move them into seats so she could get hours of crammed travel time with Joe, so be it. It was too bad Kira didn't seem to notice that Joe had a wandering eye for pretty much everyone but her. Sounds good, thanks, Kira, Christian spoke softly. It seemed to take all the energy out of him. Devin looked at him for the first time with actual focus. The bags under his eyes were heavy. He was thinner than a week ago. He seemed hollow, even fragile. He was already soft-spoken to begin with, but something about death seemed to make him feel breakable and unsteady in her eyes. The conversation moved on from Paris and back to the mundanities of their lives. Who had hooked up with a random stranger in the club last week who was still struggling to understand coursework? Every once in a while, Devin would feel someone's eyes on her. She wrongfully assumed it would always be Christian's. Somehow each time she looked up, she locked eyes with Joe.